All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Think about the very last time you were on a commercial flight. You probably didn't even realize it, but you were sitting inside this incredibly complex flying computer running on anywhere from 10 to 30 million lines of code. Today, we're unpacking a really high-stakes, super analytical topic straight from the aerospace and defense sector's official sustainability accounting standards. We are looking at the exact intersection where digital cybersecurity collides head-on with physical, real-world safety. When we talk about aerospace and defense, we're talking commercial jets, space vehicles, advanced military guidance systems. We are dealing with machines where just one single line of compromised code can have massive real-world implications. It brings up a whole new realm of risks that manufacturers and defense contractors absolutely have to account for.
I mean, really consider this for a second. What actually happens when a digital bug brings down a physical aircraft? We're all so used to digital glitches just meaning, a frozen laptop or an app crashing on our phones. But in this industry, the stakes are literally life or death. The official standards recognize that software vulnerabilities and hardware integrity, they just aren't purely IT problems anymore. They are absolutely fundamental to human survival and national defense.
And this really highlights the core philosophy of the entire sector. In the traditional tech world, you know the motto, right? It's move fast and break things. You release some software, you find a bug, and you just send out a patch a week later. No big deal. Well, you absolutely cannot move fast and break things when you're building commercial airplanes or missile systems. Because in this industry, the policy is absolute. There is zero margin for error. A failure in data security or product safety has catastrophic, immediate physical consequences.
Now, to manage all this, the official SASB standards actually split this risk into two very distinct arenas. First up, you have entity operations. This is your classic corporate hack. It's when cybercriminals target a defense company's corporate servers, their internal networks, or, say, their employee databases. But then you have products. And this is the terrifying reality of adversaries actually trying to hack the aircraft, the drones, or the defense products themselves while they are actively deployed out in the field. Companies have to uniquely identify and address vulnerabilities in both of these spaces simultaneously. So when hackers do breach these systems, what are they actually after? Well, the standards specifically require tracking three critical targets. First is confidential business information, so think trade secrets and highly proprietary engineering designs. Second, we have classified national security information. This is the absolute highest of high-stakes data that literally protects nations. And third is personal data. You see, it's never just about disrupting a network just for fun. It is about stealing the very blueprints to the future of global security and commercial aviation. And as we can see right here, the SASB standards framework really demands accountability on this front. They track data security right next to product safety. And guys, that is not a coincidence. The International Sustainability Standards Board groups these together because you simply cannot measure an aerospace entity's true risk profile without looking at how they protect their digital data right alongside how they ensure the physical safety of their manufactured units. It's the whole package. This kind of zero-tolerance approach, it has to be embedded into the entire life cycle of a product. Step one actually happens at the drawing board. It's about integrating hardware-based security directly into the product design from day one. Then, step two requires enforcing incredibly strict supply chain controls. That way, no compromised technology ever even enters the manufacturing floor. And finally, step three is how they continuously detect and manage data security flaws, bugs, and systems weaknesses way after the product has been distributed and is out there flying. It's just a never-ending loop of vigilance. Now, the standards highlight a really crucial, fascinating intersection here. Counterfeit products actually present a direct data security risk. Think about that. A fake piece of hardware entering the supply chain isn't just some physical weakness that might snap under pressure. It can actually act as a Trojan horse for digital backdoors, basically giving hackers direct access to an aircraft's most sensitive information systems. Because this is so critical, the standard strictly defines what a counterfeit part even is. We aren't just talking about cheap knockoffs you buy on the street. This is the unlawful, intentional misrepresentation of a part. It even includes the sheer audacity of selling used, worn-out gear, falsely labeled as brand new, or, stamping fake serial numbers onto unauthorized reproductions. It completely shifts our focus to the reality of malicious deception in the physical supply chain. Just imagine the absolute absurdity and, frankly, the terror of trying to track down a single, microscopic counterfeit screw inside a massive jet engine.
So to manage this nightmare, companies have to track exactly when these fakes are caught. It is quite literally a ticking clock. Step one is the ultimate goal, right? Catching it before procurement. That means the risk was entirely avoided before a single dollar was even spent. Step two is detecting it during manufacturing, assembly, or testing. And step three, well, that's the absolute worst case scenario. That's detecting it after the sale and delivery to the customer. Reporting the percentage of parts avoided before hitting the market shows us exactly how bulletproof an entity's supply chain security really is. But of course, sometimes product safety failures do make it to the market, and that brings us to recalls. The standards ask entities to track both involuntary and voluntary recalls. Involuntary recalls are those forced by jurisdictional, legal, or regulatory agencies, basically because a product fails to meet safety standards. But voluntary recalls, those are initiated proactively by the company itself to remove products for safety concerns. Tracking both of these tells us a massive amount about a company's internal safety culture versus simply bowing to forced regulatory compliance. And hey, speaking of regulatory compliance, if you follow aviation at all, you have likely heard this bit of industry jargon: airworthiness directives. Let's translate that real quick. An airworthiness directive is a legally enforceable rule issued by aviation authorities. These apply to aircraft, aircraft engines, propellers, and appliances. Let's be very clear, they are not mere suggestions or helpful little tips. They are absolute legal mandates requiring immediate action to resolve an identified safety condition. So companies obviously must disclose the number of airworthiness directives they receive and the units affected. But they also have to discuss what actually makes an airworthiness directive notable. An AD reaches that critical, notable status if it triggers an emergency designation, if it affects just a massive number of products, if it leads to widespread plane groundings, or, worst of all, if it is directly associated with actual accidents, injuries, or fatalities. This brings intense, real-world weight to these tracking metrics. Putting recalls right alongside airworthiness directives gives us a true sense of scale when it comes to tracking physical hardware integrity. On one side, we have consumer and market protection through recalls, and on the other, strict legal enforcement from aviation authorities. Together, these metrics demonstrate exactly how an aerospace entity measures, manages, and mitigates the risk of critical system failures. It's essentially a comprehensive safety scorecard. And what happens when these physical and digital safety protocols completely fail? Well, the financial devastation can be massive. The standards require companies to disclose the total amount of monetary losses as a result of legal proceedings associated with product safety. This includes civil judgments, settlements, regulatory penalties, and criminal restitution. It strips away all the standard legal fees and focuses purely on the hard, brutal financial penalty of failing your most basic duty: keeping people safe. If there is one absolutely crucial, overarching takeaway from all these standards, definitions, and metrics we've talked about today, it is this: a digital breach is a physical threat. In the aerospace and defense sector, we can no longer separate the IC department from the engineering floor. Data security and product safety are inextricably linked. Protecting a trade secret on a server is just as vital as ensuring a microscopic engine part isn't a counterfeit. Both are completely fundamental to human survival and national defense. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As flight, both commercial and military, becomes increasingly automated and digitized, how do we ensure the invisible code never compromises the physical journey? It's a question the industry is working tirelessly to answer. And as we've explored today, they're meticulously tracking every single data point to get there. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.